You that are with us here at the House of Justice and being out and being with us this morning. We so appreciate you. For those of you that are watching us online, we thank you for being with us online at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. For those of you that are members of the National Action Network, we thank you. For those of you that are not members, of course, while you're watching us online, you can take time to go over to where it says Join and click on and become members. For those of you that are here at the House of Justice, of course, you'll have an opportunity to join today. Of course, everything takes great support, and so if you're watching us online, we encourage you to be what we call a justice partner, and that is someone who helps to continue this movement thrive by making financial contributions. Give what you can to support the cause, because we have to remain strong and sturdy to remain on the front lines of the fight for social justice. For those of you that are in the region, remember there are congressional elections, federal primaries on Tuesday, June 28th. Polls are open from 9 to 6 a.m., so you want to make sure that you go out and vote. For those of you that are at the website for the first time, then of course we invite you to tour the website. There's always a lot to do at the website. And for those of you that are at the website, we invite you to tour the website. We're back, brothers and sisters. We're here. We're live. We're in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street. Call somebody. Tell them the action is on the air. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house and getting ready to come to you. Please get on your feet for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice,
no peace.
No justice,
No peace.
no justice,
No peace.
no justice.
No peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Hug the person next to you, tell him you love them.
Let's
Action Network Change Choir. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally. For you that are here live at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. And for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy, and our music director, Brother Wright. Have a lot of ground to cover. Let me welcome see some members from our Washington, D.C. and Maryland chapter of National Action Network. Let them stand. Welcome them. You'll stand up. And Sister Nia 2X, the head of Washington, D.C. National Action Network. We were in Washington yesterday, Minister Foy and I, as Randy Weingart and I co-chaired, we getting ready to have a big gun violence day. I'm going to get into that and certainly support. Aren't we proud of John Lewis and Congressman Charles Rangel and the city Yvette Clark? And we're going to support them as they come back July 5th. And whatever they do, we're going to do it. I told Greg Meeks that if they sit in, we're going to do national sit-ins. And then Martin III and I, in the annual day that we bring tens of thousands to Washington around the March on Washington anniversary, we're going to do it around gun violence. And we met with labor leaders yesterday at the American Federation of Teachers. I want to get into that and to homophobia and all the Mars Gay Pride Parade, and we march every year. And some of y'all that are homophobic, y'all just take a pill and grow up. And grow up. You can't be for civil rights for anybody unless you're for civil rights for everybody. But there is a very important issue that I want to deal with locally. I've tried hard to stay out of local New York stuff because, one, we're building with Minister Foy, who's our regional director, and Reverend McCall and Stephen Marshall and others, the generation behind me. But every once in a while, something happens in New York that I just cannot stay out of. And it's because it has national ramifications. And let me tell you something. This Tuesday, I want everybody listening on the LIB, you and the beauty parlor come from up under the drive. Call somebody. Tell them Reverend Al getting ready to get in some local mess they need to hear. Tuesday is a special election in Harlem, and in Washington Heights, and in East Harlem, and on the West Side, and in the Bronx. The reason I did it that way is because if I just said 13th Congressional, some of y'all may not know the boundaries. So if you live in those areas and vote in those areas, you have an election day on Tuesday. This election will determine the next congressperson from this district. We have had only 2 congressmen in history from that district. Adam Clayton Powell, who went from the city council to Congress in 45, elected in 44, and Congressman Charles Rangel, who was elected in 70 and was sworn in 71. Now, we have had 2 giants. One of the reasons that, one of the ways you can always tell A giant is by their opposition. The same forces that undermined Adam Powell attempted to undermine Charlie Rangel, because they were not used to people, particularly black folk, that would exercise power and deliver to their community. At Adam Clayton Powell's funeral, Gardner Taylor, who did the eulogy, said, only thing wrong with Adam was America. They did everything they could as long as they could to Charlie Rangel and couldn't come up with nothing. But it was the same thing, because they want to control who speaks for us. It's all a matter of control. And all of it's not just racist, it's about power. If they can control this area from the Bronx to the West Side and all, they can make billions of dollars, throw you out in some emotional stuff you got about something that don't matter to nothing. This is business. Straight up business. And Adam knew that. They toppled Adam because he told on a woman that was collecting grass for crooked police. Can you imagine that? And you got mad at that. He called a bad woman. Everybody in town said she was a bad woman. And you gonna prosecute for that. He hid out in Bimini because they didn't have no room in Richmond, Virginia somewhere. So he had to go all the way to Bimini. I'm still trying to explain that 40 years later. And when he came back, Charlie Rangel, the stuff they tried to come with Charlie Rangel, you don't even remember, because that's how ridiculous it was and unimportant. But they will fabricate stuff so they can turn you against those that will stand for you. Am I clear? So you got Charlie Rangel, who chaired Ways and Means and who has delivered for this community for 45 years. You got Adam Powell, who was the architect legislatively in education and labor of the Great Society. And they want you, the liberal media, to question them while they'll run a joke like Donald Trump for president and act like that's credible. All of a sudden, after the Brexit vote in London, I'm reading this morning, Trump gets a new breath. A new breath of what? He was in Scotland and didn't even know how to address it. Can you imagine the day the vote goes to leave the European Union, he's on live TV selling sweets to his new golf resort? And y'all got a vote here in Harlem and don't even know you better show up? You talk about, oh, I love what John Lewis and Charlie Rangel and them did in Congress in the sit-in. You need to sit in a poll in Harlem on Tuesday. Because you will invalidate everything they are doing. When I looked at that sit-in and the attention it brought to gun violence, Sister Shakur and them been working on gun violence, brought world attention. Who makes out that picture if Charlie Rangel's not there? Look at the candidates, and who makes out that picture? Who would have been part of that sit-in if they were the successor to Charlie Rangel? Well, the only ones that you can say would do it is those that have done it, and that have been there on the issue, and that have stood up. I believe in converts, I'm a preacher. But just because you joined the church this Sunday, don't mean you preach next Sunday. You got to pay some dues. And new friends is good, but it means for a long time they wasn't your friend. If you 60 years old and we just stopped being friends 5 years ago, that means these 55 years you decided not to be my friend. I treat folk nice, but we've been on this corner a long time. We've been on radio Saturday morning for 25 years. So when you just come by and I ain't never seen you before, and oh, Reverend, you're the greatest thing since Frederick Douglass. Yeah, you didn't think about that 4 years ago. And I'm nice because my mother taught me to have manners. but that don't mean I'm stupid. I curl my hair, ain't nothing wrong with my brain. So Tuesday now, y'all get this in the barbershop, is an important day for the continuity of leadership and progression in this community. When you look at all of what they got in the papers, developers, real estate interests, everybody, they don't have room for folk. They need Harlem. They need the Bronx. They need parts of the West Side. You are concerned about gentrification. I'm telling you, they want to gentrify the politics in this community. Political gentrification will seal the deal. And let me tell you, all my bang bang shoot 'em up revolutionaries, we ain't gonna take it no more. If you think the wrong folk win on Tuesday for Congress, that they gonna leave us here talking about no justice, no peace, we'll be in the middle of the Hudson on a tugboat yelling no justice, no peace. Sailing south. So this is not about which candidate you like. It's about, do you like yourself? There's one pack that put out a memo saying the only way their candidate can win is to suppress the black vote. I want y'all get this in the barbershop. They're planning on suppressing our vote, and they're planning on you not showing up. Because after 65 or 70 years of leadership of Powell and Rangel, they think you too dumb to stand up for yourself. That's what they're betting on. They're betting on you being stupid. They want to suppress us. They want to distract us. They go and hire them, some outsiders, throw them up on television with commercials, and you supposed to be attracted to Negroes you ain't never seen before. I mean, they must have a laboratory to just create these Negroes. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I walk through with the... Where did you come from? I ain't never seen you before. We done fought every cause, every case. And what block is that you walking on? We ain't never seen you on that block. Imported leadership. We need new leadership. No, we don't. We need continued leadership. And let me tell you something. Don't trust something you don't know. That's why old folk like to sit on the old chair at home, because they know it'll hold them up. You gonna sit on a new chair and bust your behind. Hello? I am concerned about the future of our community. In this tentative time, we are about to see for the first time in American history a black family lead the White House. We've never been here before. You're going to see for the first time a white family move in and a black family move out. Therefore, we better make sure that our interests don't leave with Barack and Michelle. So you ain't got no time to be trying nothing new. You better try and deal with something that you know that is sturdy, still water runs deep. We don't need no orator. Well, I don't know if so-and-so's fiery enough, and I don't know if they're confident. No, I'll be as fiery and confrontational as you need. We need somebody in Congress that can legislate. all the hell raising I do. I don't need no hell raising in Congress. I want y'all to be real clear. They want to suppress the vote. So everybody listening to me on radio, everybody that is here, we need to be calling everybody that you know lives in the Bronx and Harlem, Washington Heights, West Side, and East Harlem, and tell them they got to vote on Tuesday. Y'all hear me? Well, what part of the Bronx? If they live anywhere in the Bronx, let them figure it out once they get there. Y'all get too confused. If they're in the Bronx, call them. If they get outside the district, just fine. Just call them. We figure that out on the way to the poll. Because I know us, we use any excuse. Well, I didn't get the street represented. The whole Bronx, everybody. All of Harlem, all of Washington Heights, everything. Now, Nan can't endorse candidates, but we sure endorse policies and continuity. We're going to be open all day, helping nonpartisan folk go to the polls and making sure that the polls are not suppressed. We're going to be open here all day, from early in the morning till the polls close. Because I do not want us on the tugboat next Saturday. We get mad about things and don't rally around the solutions. Tell you now, this is important. So I want for this broadcast, we have 2 or 3 people that I want us to hear from on the air. We have, first and foremost, a man whose head and shoulders been a historic figure in this city, not only for us, but for everybody. And he has always served this community. When I was 16 years old, he was a partner in a law firm called Patterson, Michaels, Dinkins, and Jones. And Clayton Jones, who was the brother to my pastor, Reverend William Jones, when I was youth director of Breadbasket under Jesse Jackson here in New York, when I was 13 to I was 16, I decided to start my own youth movement. They threw Jesse out of SCLC. I won't go into that because we're on the air, and they'll make the story that. So I left and wanted to form my own youth group. I went to Clayton Jones, and Clayton brought me this partner, David Dinkins, who incorporated my youth group when I was 16. That's how far back I go with David Dinkins. And then later, when he was city clerk, he invited me to lunch. And we went to a salad place near the municipal building that is now the David Dinkins building. He worked in that building as city clerk. And he walked me over and told me, young man, and gave me advice on how to do my youth movement, Bob Russell, and give me some money. And I got back on the New Life train, went home, Lloyd Williams. And my mother said, did you meet the city clerk? I said, yes. Says, you on time? Yes. Says, y'all went to lunch? I said, yeah. It was strange though, he eats grass. I was waiting on a hamburger. That back in them days, I'd eat about 12 White Castles or something. He brought me over to eat some grass and some turnip juice and got me back on the train. Now I eat like that, I understand it better. But that was strange in 72. But he went on. You young folk, he ran 2 or 3 times, borough president, was defeated, never would stop. And the ones that defeated him was the same liberal crowd that's trying to hijack the 13th Congressional District. When the mayor's race came up in the 80s, and Denny Farrell, we're going to challenge Ed Koch, they started calling them the Gang of Four, trying to demonize them because they wanted to control black politics in this city. We were not looking for better slave masters, we were looking for freedom. Problem is, what's the difference in a slave master with a crew cut and overalls and one with long hand khaki pants? I want to be free. I don't want no boss from Tammany Hall or from Greenwich Village. But he fought on and won. Borough President of Manhattan, and went on to be the first and the only black mayor in the history of this city. And let me tell you this. The only reason, I want a lot of the young folks to understand this, and you listen to radio land. They say, yeah, well, Dave Dinkins only served one term. They had to change the rules to be Dinkins. I was involved in that campaign. They put a referendum on the ballot in Staten Island, the Gardner family here this morning, to succeed from the city, which they knew was crap. But it was Donald trumping up their base. That's all it was. It was a Trump strategy. They put a succession, they put a referendum on the ballot to drive up Staten Island, and they dropped a Crown Heights report to suppress in other areas. Like there was something going on wrong under his administration with Crown Heights. Otherwise, they wouldn't have won then. It wasn't fair. It was a stack-up job. And that's why we don't need a stack-up come Tuesday in Howard. I bring you the mayor of the city of New York, who never shamed us, never embarrassed us, and delivered for us, the Honorable David Norman Dinkins.
You all think I came here this morning to participate in this rally, but what it really is my continuation of leaning on Reverend Al to find out who his tailor is. Every time I see him, I said, man, I wish I could afford your tailor. But he told it like it is. We have been friends a very long time, and nobody can be more proud of him than I truly worship him. Because not only is he tremendously articulate, he's always right on the case. And not everybody is. There's some people who are smooth and articulate, but they're saying the wrong thing. But you can count on Reverend Al to tell it like it is. I know that Nan is nonpartisan and whatnot, but I've been told it's all right if I talk about my friend Keith.
Yeah.
Well, my brother Charlie Rangel is here. I called him the other day, and I got his cell, and I left one message. I said, he wanted me to bring you a sleeping bag. He said he didn't really need one, but I was prepared to take it down to him. But John Lewis is one of my heroes. He is truly one of my heroes. Here's a man who walked across that bridge knowing in advance he was going to be hit every foot of the way. And it's turn the other cheek is good stuff if it ain't your cheek. But he knew when Dr. King asked him to walk across that bridge, he knew what he faced. So, it's light stuff for him to sit down in the hall of Congress, the House of Representatives. You heard him the other day. He said, we'll be back. He says, and we're going to do this, we do that, and if necessary, we'll sit in. And what we need is more people like that in the Congress. My brother Charlie has been in the Congress 46 years. I think I asked him the other day, the only person who's been in the Congress longer than Charlie Rangel is John, right? John Conyers of Detroit. Pretty good tennis player, I might add. I used to play tennis when I was younger, but I aged out. But I wanted to come this morning not only to see my friend Al, and I knew Charlie was going to be here, but I want to talk about Keith. As you've been told, I ran 3 times for Manhattan Borough President before I succeeded. People used to say to me, "What do you do?" That's how I run for Borough President. Finally we succeeded. And part of the strategy that Bill Lynch, gone too young at 72 to his reward, but Bill and I, we figured that the way to win this contest was to point out that Manhattan consists of really a lot of little separate villages. You know, you got Chinatown, Little Italy, and Yorkville and whatnot, and of course you got Harlem. So it was very important to me, because this is my base. It was very important to me as Manhattan Borough President to have somebody in Harlem on whom I could rely and I knew was together. And that person was Keith Wright. He says I was a tough boss. I really wasn't a tough boss. But he was good. He was very good. And he and I, we've known each other a very long time. My bride and I, we got a little boy who's 62. And he and Keith, they were in school together, in high school. So I've known Keith a long time. I lived in the Riverton, east of here, and very nice place. That was Metropolitan built that for the black folks, for the Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper Village they had downtown for the white folks. But we did have the Riverton. I loved it. Rent was very low, but I had trouble getting that together. But I've known Keith a very long time, and the reason for supporting him is not simply because his father was a magnificent guy. He understood the law, and he knew that the purpose of bail is to ensure the presence of the defendant on the return date, not to punish the man who's not yet been convicted. And so they call him Turn Him Loose Bruce and names like that. Didn't bother him. He kept on riding his bicycle and writing poetry. But Keith is amazing. He really is a fine young man. I don't know how many of you here recognize that he was the county leader of New York County, which meant that he pretty much could have had whatever he wanted. He could have, in fact, I thought he was going to take the job of county clerk, not to be confused with city clerk, but the county clerk of New York County. The man who had been there before was, I don't know, 35 years or so, pays well, you got a lot of staff, you don't have to do too much, you run the jury pool and things like that. And Keith could have had that job with a snap of his fingers. But instead, he chose to go to the Congress, knowing that he would not have the seniority of Charlie Rangel, but he knew that it was important to our community. And he wanted to go and try to continue the legacy built up by Adam Powell and Charlie Rangel. So there are a lot of folks running. There's a long article in the paper today, in the New York Times. They talk mainly about a couple of other folks whose names I will not mention here. We old politicians, we thought you don't call the opponent's name, that just promotes him. But they mention a couple of others, and they spent very little time talking about Keith. So I'm offended by that, frankly. But he is a person of accomplishment, very smart, very honest. Very honest. I am proud of the fact that in our administration, we didn't have any so-called scandals. My friend Ed Koch, sad to say, you remember Donald Maness committed suicide, Stanley Friedman went to jail, Rudy Giuliani, he recommended to the president cleric to be the head of Homeland Security. He was a commissioner and put his name on the building, had to take his name off when he went to jail. And even Mike Bloomberg, good man, really a billionaire. I don't know whether Trump got a billion or not, but I know that Mike Bloomberg got, and he recognized how important it was. He's a philanthropist, but even he ran into one hell of a scandal with the payroll thing. So I'm proud because of a lot of good people who helped me. And I don't mean just folks like you who voted or gave me money. Obviously you need that. But I had wonderful, good people working with me. And some who never worked in government, never made 2 cents with me, like Basil Patterson. But Basil, for instance, was the chairman of our mayor's committee on the judiciary. And so Basil would bring me, if you had, the mayor gets to appoint judges of the criminal court and the family court. And for many of us, that is the court of last resort. We don't appeal nowhere. And Basil would bring me, if I had 2 openings, he'd bring me 3 or 4 names. Didn't matter which one I picked, because they were all good. And so I'm proud of the fact that we had more minorities, more women, more gays than any other administration that preceded ours. It wasn't because I was so smart, it was because of Basil Patterson. And Keith is one of those people. He helped me look good. I'd take long bows and make speeches about stuff that Keith had done. You know, but that's the way it works, you know. So I hope that folks will recognize the need to turn out on Tuesday. You know, you remember in the old days we used to have card tables set out on the street registering people. That's right. And folks would come by, and usually young folks, and you'd try to get them to register, and you'd reason with them, and they would say things like, no, I don't have a job now, I ain't gonna have none later, why the hell are all you politicians are like, and language like that. And I'd try to reason with them, and on occasion I'd get angry. I said, damn it, people died for you to get the right to vote. I tell them about Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner. I'm a proud member of the Andrew Goodman Foundation. Remember Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner? Young Goodman, these young cats went south in the Freedom Ride, we call them then. I'm reminded of Harry Belafonte, and who incidentally, aside from being a great performer and all that, is one hell of an activist. Because I kid Harry, I say, you say good morning in paragraphs. You got that? And you get, some of you catch that on the way home. But Harry once went to Mississippi, and he talked Sidney Poitier into accompanying him. And he said when he arrived, it was pitch black at night. The Ku Klux Klan was out there with torches and guns. He said Sidney called him later and said, Harry, don't call me anymore. But see, there are a lot of good people. And the good people should be acknowledged and recognized for what they are. Not simply because they deserve the commendation. I mean, we can talk about Reverend Al all day and all night, and that's good, and we should. But the point is, the reason for applauding him is because maybe it will inspire others to attempt to emulate what he does. And that's, so I talk about my brother Charlie, and he and I have a million stories we tell about each other, and whichever one of us gets to the mic first, we use up the good stories and leave the... But I'll tell you one real quick, and then go back to Keith. But Charlie, you know he was a hero, right? You know, he was a dropout, Korea, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and he said, God, if just let me get out of this one, I'll be good forever. And he wrote a book. I haven't had a bad day since. But he was surrounded by Chinese communists, and he was a real hero. I mean, a real, true, honest-to-God hero. And so Charlie came back, finished high school, finished college, finished law school. He went to Hogan, who was the district attorney in New York County. And Hogan wouldn't even give him an interview. Not even an interview. So he went to Bob Morgenthau, who was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District. The same Bob Morgenthau who later became the DA in New York County. And he went to him, and he was very impressed with Charlie, and but the FBI had to vet him. And they don't do this by telephone call. They go physically out into the neighborhood to check on you. So Charlie spent his whole life at 132nd and Lenox Avenue. So the FBI came down there, and they approached people and said, Charlie Rangel? I don't know Charlie. No, I don't know Charlie. Nobody knew Charlie Rangel. Fortunately, Charlie had a classmate, a man named Frank, whose father was a judge, who knew Morgenthau, and they cleared him. So Charlie then comes back in the neighborhood, and people rush up to Charlie and say, hey man, the FBI is looking for you. but we got a million like that. We can tell stories. But we're here today to encourage you to turn out to vote. You know, incidentally, you may not, some of you are old enough to remember, but way back in 71 or 2, I was the president of the Board of Elections. And as I look at the problems they're having today, I said, we didn't have that in my day. But I say the same thing about the potholes now. I said, when I was mayor, we didn't have potholes. But I am a very, very fortunate fellow. I'm old. I'll be 89 in July 10th. But I love young people, and I say to folks your age all the time, we owe the youth the ability to achieve their potential. We owe them that. When I came out of law school, I got admitted to the bar in 1956, and if you got a job in a law firm, not me, I was lucky I got some breaks, but the average person who got a job in a law firm, they paid you $25 or $30 a week to file papers and things like that. With a lecture on, you should be paying them for the privilege. See, I think we ought to work hard, and young people should work hard, but I really truly believe that we adults owe to the younger generation the capacity to achieve their potential. Each generation should do better than the one before. And as great as Bruce Wright was, the judge, I'm looking for Keith Wright to surpass even him. And he's got the ability to do it. Keep in mind, here's a man who, as county leader of New York County, could have chosen a lot of different ways to go. But instead, he thought it important that he continue the legacy of Adam Clayton Powell and Charlie Rangel. So, not only do I ask you to vote, but as Al said a moment ago, if you're in the Bronx, don't worry about where the district lines are. Just go, and if that's not your district, fine, you won't vote. But if it is, you'll be there. But not only should you go, take somebody with you. Thank you. Take your family, your friends, your neighbors, because it makes a difference. And later is too late. This is the opportunity. And we've got a wonderful, wonderful man seeking to represent us all, and he will do us justice. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Honorable David Norman Dinkins. On April 4th, 1972, Adam Clayton Powell died in Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami, Florida. A couple of days later, the New York Times did an editorial saying that two great or famous African Americans died on April 4th. Adam Clayton Powell died April 4th, 72. Martin Luther King was assassinated April 4th, 68. They said one left a great legacy, the other didn't. I never will forget that article because I was a huge fan of Adam Clayton Powell. The other day, they did an editorial in there endorsing someone for Congress, took some shots at Congressman Rangel. Because those forces in the fourth estate always want to select our leadership because they fight them on our behalf. Beware of folk that those that are against your interest like, because if they rooting for the other side, they must mean they intend for you to lose. That's why every time somebody attacks us, a lot of us understand they must be on our side. What they would attack Mayor Dinkins for, Ed Koch got a lot more in 3 terms and never got touched by them. Charlie Rangel has changed the social landscape of this country. in the years he served, went on to be chair of House Ways and Means. The only reason they came up with these little bogus things is they didn't want him chairing House Ways and Means. Can you imagine somebody from Lenox Avenue gonna be over the taxes and over finances in this country? That's what that was about. That's all that was about. And that's why they attack any of us when we are doing something. Guys, the other day, well, did you ever pay your back taxes? I'm on TV and radio. Anybody looking for me? But they'll run that out because they want to demonize you. They be garnishing my pay if I owed something. They know where I'm at. We cannot afford to have a succession, Lord, of two giants, Adam Powell and Charlie Rangel, by bringing on a midget. This is the land of giants. And I bring you the giant that is passing it on. He stood in the Congress. When he sat in the other day, I told the young folk in there, he ain't just started sitting in. He marched in Selma in the 60s as a young lawyer. He went down and joined the march. He didn't meet John Lewis in Congress. And he sat in one police plaza for Amadou Diallo and went to jail for us. He sat in before, but more important, he stood up for 46 years in the House of Representatives, Congressman Charles Wright.
God bless you, man. I am so humbled to hear the accolades when God has given me the ability to survive a war that I didn't know what I was in, to survive Lenox Avenue, and to be able to come back and be able to thank you that God has been good to me. I want to thank these mothers that are here with us. I lost my brother, and my mother just screamed a voice that I never heard before. And she said to me, her second woman, Charlie, you'll never know what it's like for a mother to lose a child. And she's saying that to me as though I didn't exist because of the love of the brother that she had, that I had, and the son that she had lost. For you mothers to have the courage to remind people that we're talking about human life that will be with us if the gun lobby had not just intimidated members of the United States Congress. They can get excited when a whole bunch of white folks get killed. But to see what is happening every day and not to do anything, your hope for us have allowed us with the theme of John Lewis to shake up, to make some noise, and not to give in. I am not going to talk about Keith Wright because I'm going to be working, going places that he can't be. We won't be too many places together. We just got to go to try to excite people to recognize the importance of June 28th. What I will be talking about is you. I'll be talking about you, your children, and your grandchildren. I will be talking about the things that have been done to people who have died so that you would have the right to be able to vote. I'll be talking about the tragic things that are happening with our Supreme Court. I will not be saying anything against Donald Trump because what he has done is pull the sheet off of the poisonous minds. And the reason I'm talking about you is that you are here because Al Sharpton is able to shake up the counties, the cities, the communities, the states, and the country. You're here because your voice is not alone. Now, when you talk about the national network, you're talking about people, and if they say, I still don't understand, you can say, well, you haven't heard of Al Sharpton.
That's right. Come on.
In other words, it's through Al Sharpton's life and action that gives you the hope and the aspiration for yourself, your community, and the future of our people.
Yes, sir.
And I can tell you this. I know that we have 535 members of Congress, 100 of them in the Senate, and the rest of them in the House of Representatives. I can tell you not one of them knows the President of the United States like Al Sharpton.
That's right.
I can tell you that black or white or brown, I don't know of any individual that can get in and outside of that White House and talk to the President of the United States. And I submit, Reverend, that all of us know that saying that we know you enhances us, empowers us, and lets people know we are somebody. Sometimes we may exaggerate and say, if we're losing, you don't want me to take this up with Reverend Al, do you? But that's the liberty that he gives to us.
That's right.
I am telling you that June 28th is your day. It's a historic day. People will be asking you on June 29th, what do you think about what happened on June 28th? Because it's not just the village of Harlem. What is happening throughout the world is that people like Trump are saying, let's bring America back to what it used to be. And we didn't see all of these different people. We didn't see the Klan. We thought they were dead. We didn't see these white folks that are not getting jobs and thinking that it must be us that's responsible. We had no idea how much white folks who are immigrants hate immigrants. And I will submit to you, it's because the immigrant does not look like he looks. They're coming over here in yellow and brown and black. And so the only way you can get rid of your frustrations is to be able to say, I got someone down there in Washington. When I went to Washington, there was only 13 of us. 9 were there, 4 joined them. We formed the Congressional Black Caucus because we needed each other. In 10 years, there were 26 members. Another 10 years, there were 36 members. Now we have 46 members, and they are waiting for Keith Wright to come down there and enhance. You don't just get a member of Congress. You get a piece of your government. And if you take a look at the direction which we're going, where they refuse to allow a black president to finish out his term in sending someone to the Supreme Court. Then you see what the Supreme Court is doing. And they have the nerve to put up Clarence Thomas to let him know that they don't need any 9th member because they got him on their side. So the president's losing, the country's losing, and we are losing. I conclude by saying, as I go to the next Keith Wright rally, this is more about you and our people than anything else. The whole world is watching this happen to Harlem. With all due respect to me arriving in Harlem, they didn't know my name for weeks and months. I was the new congressman from where? From Harlem. And that's exactly what we need to do, is to protect our investment. You have invested 46 years in this seat. Your moms and dads and grandpeople have invested 26 years in that Empower seat. It's time that we continue to get returns on the investment of what we've had in appreciating our power. And I tell you this, if people say, well, who in the hell is Keith Wright? You can say, why don't you go online? Because I don't have to tell you that you can look at each and every person running, and as the Reverend said, you don't know who they are.
That's right.
where they came from, where they got their money, and you can bet your sweet life. When they go online, they say, well, this Keith Wright looks like he's ready. And just the same way you don't have to know congressional lines, you have the best possible candidate that can keep you proud of the legacy that we've built over the years. And so, Keith, I'm joining and going where you've sent me to go. We'll be weaving in and out all day. To the mothers, the Congress is picking up where we left off.
That's right.
Reverend Sharpton talked about John Lewis marching over the bridge.
Sir.
And when they asked, well, didn't you say you were going to stay here until we pass the bill that would at least let, if the FBI thought that someone was a threat to national security, it couldn't get an automatic weapon? Didn't you say that you were going to stay here until there's a background check for people buying weapons? And look at this. You haven't done that. The reporters were waiting. There was a silence there. And John Lewis came up to the mic. And John Lewis says, you know, when I challenged the people to go over Edmunds Pettus Bridge, we started over that bridge, but we had no idea what was on the other side of that bridge. And they thought they stopped us, and they beat us, and whatnot. And we came back and we regrouped. And then they asked other people to join us as we was able to march 54 miles from Selma to Montgomery. I passed and marked those 54 miles. That was the second march. The first march was the massacre. John Lewis said, this is just the first march. The second march we're going to start on July the 5th. Reverend, you don't know what your talk has made to me, not as a congressman, but as someone that every day of every week of every year, there's Harlem in my heart.
That's right.
And what you have done has allowed me to believe that we are going to move forward.
Yes,
we ain't giving up.
That's right.
We all have to know which side are you on. If you're not registered and you did not vote, then we know which side you're on. This is for you. This is for your kids. This is for your grandkids. And I can't be more proud of how Keith Wright has carried himself in the years he's been in public sector. And Reverend Sharpton, as I go on to the next Keith rally meeting, I say to you, as bad and as powerful as I am in Washington, do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
Put in a word for me with the president. Thank you so much.
Congressman, Charlotte, Rangel. One of the reasons that I love when Mayor Dinkins and Congressman Rangel come by is they are our history.
That's right.
The other reason is Mayor Dinkins is going to be 89, Congressman Rangel is 85, 86. So when I see Dinkins and Rangel and Michael Hardy, it makes me young again. Let me bring a young man my age, the assemblyman from this district, who they are talking about. Assemblyman on his way on Tuesday is up to you where it goes. Brother Keith Wright.
No justice! No justice! Listen, I just want to thank the National Action Network, and I want to thank the Reverend Al Sharpton for his advocacy and just being on the front lines every day. I want to thank our great mayor, the 106th mayor of the city of New York, David Norman Dinkins. I want to thank the great Congressman Charles Rangel, and I want to thank all of you for all that you do. And let me just say this, Tuesday, June 28th is Election Day. And this is the most important day, the most important election. I know you always hear that this is the most important election we'll ever face. But I submit to you that we in this community, this is the most important election that we are facing, because You know, we've stood out on lines for our beloved President, Barack Obama, not once but twice, maybe even 3 times, 2 and 3 hours. But I don't know how many of you have been to the White House, and Al Sharpton puts in good words for us with the president, as Charlie Rangel said. But the world is watching this election. Now, you don't have to come to the White House to see me. You can see me in 135th Street anytime you want. This election is local. This is local. It's important. And listen, I submit to you that the enormity, the significance, and the impact of this, of following in the footsteps of these 2 big giants, the greatest names in political and governmental history that I think we could ever name.
Yes, sir.
It's not lost on me the enormity of this fact. You know, it's following 2 giants.
That's right.
And you notice I'm not saying replace, because neither one of them can be replaced. But in order to succeed, to continue the continuity, to continue the legacy, to continue what it means to be from 135th Street, to continue what it means to take our kids to school, to continue what it means to fight for our neighborhoods, to fight for our neighborhoods. Listen, I have been in the Assembly for the last 23 years. And I have been a part of some of the greatest legislative accomplishments that have come out of Albany. Yes, I was the second name on the bill to eliminate the Rockefeller drug laws, and we did that together. That only took us 12 years to do. And I was the prime author of the bill to create something called the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights. Those folks that work as nannies and caregivers for rich folks. My grandparents were domestic workers. Now it's mostly an immigrant population, and they've been much abused over the years. Much abused over the years, and let me just say this, now they have a day off, they can get a raise in pay, they can get overtime, and they can get vacation time and a sick time. That only took 7 years to do. Yes, I've been the author of the bill to create the minimum wage with indexing for inflation. And if we had done that in 2012, you know what the minimum wage would be right now? $15 an hour. Yes, I've been a part of the paid family leave. These are all great accomplishments. I'm the author of the bill to create the senior citizen rent increase exemption. If you're a senior citizen and you make $50,000 or less, your rent can't go up. Yes, I've done all these things. But, you know, elections are not about the past. They're about the future. They're about the future. And let me just say this, what I have done in the past is a good indication of what I will do in the future. So I've been involved in these battles. Affordable housing is real. And the lack thereof is real. So first thing I want to do when I go to Washington is to change something called the AMI. They take into account the income levels of everybody in the city of New York. And they also take into account the income levels of Rockland and Westchester County as well. It's a HUD regulation. It's not a piece of legislation. The median income of Rockland County is $98,000 a year. Median income of Westchester County is $105,000 a year. The median income of the 13th Congressional District, $35,000 a year. There's no way you should be comparing apples and oranges and throwing us into that equation in terms of what is affordable and what is not. That's got to change. That's got to change. So, we all know about the issues concerning health care and education, and Lord knows I've been on the front lines with Aisha Sekou many nights and many days, and making sure to stem the scourge of gun violence in this community. Matter of fact, you know, I'm the prime author of the resolution to create Gun Violence Awareness Month in New York State. The only state in the union that has that. That's why we recommended to Congressman Rangel and Congressman Hakeem Jeffries to put forth a resolution for the whole United States of America. But there's also a bigger problem that we have, and that's, you know, I'm the father of 2 boys, and I've also said that, you know, many times it's hardest thing to do is to make black boys into men. And I have 2 children. One is 28, the other is 21, and we tell our children, go to school, graduate, get your piece of the pie. Well, I have a 28-year-old son who graduated from college, very proud of him, and he has a job. 28 years old and has a job. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him. Love him. But the dude still lives with me. He lives in my house. You know, I travel back and forth. You know, a lot of times my wife will leave dinner on the table and I'll come home and he gets up off the couch and I see him taking a paper towel and he's wiping his mouth. And I'll say, well, where's my dinner? And he'll look at me and give you that blank look that kids give you. We all know the look. You can ask him a direct question and he'll look at you and he'll say, I don't know. So, and I love him very much, but he wants to move out as much as I want him to move out. But he can't move out because of the student debt crisis. He went across the street to Chase Manhattan Bank one day and took out a loan unbeknownst to me, and he's got to pay that back. Bumpy, the loan shark on 137th Street, has better interest rates than Chase Manhattan Bank. I can tell you that right now. So, don't ask me how I know, okay? So all I'm saying is that when kids graduate from college, immediately, as soon as you get out of that college, as soon as you get that degree, you're owing $40,000 on average. $40,000. If you go to graduate school, you're owing $100,000. Now, and they want that money a year, they give you a year to get yourself together. Well, quite frankly, I know some guys I grew up with, and they're 60, 70 years old, they still haven't gotten themselves together. So how can banks ask students in less than 1 year to start repaying a loan? That should be extended to at least 5 years before you should start repaying a loan. We should also look about some more public service components, whether you work as a police officer, firefighter, teacher, and that your loan would be forgiven for entering into public service. We should also look at maybe a 50-50 split that 50% you pay for your student loan and 50% will go to buying a first-time home. These are things that we should be looking at because the student debt crisis is strangling our children and our grandchildren. So I just want to say, this election is close. They have 4 days to go. And they're going to pull out a lot of tricks. A lot of tricks. Listen, this election is close. And I'm reminded when the Reverend Sharpton, I don't know if it passed over people's heads, but Reverend Sharpton talked about a memo that he had that talked about they're trying to suppress the black vote. I don't know, we didn't hear too much, but they've been trying to do that for decades, centuries, to suppress our voices, to suppress our constitutional right, to suppress our right to vote. Now, whether we choose to come out and vote is another story, but don't let some other folks suppress our vote. We fought too long and too hard about that. Matter of fact, Reverend Al, I remember years ago, might have been a Republican, what's his name, Ed Rollins or something like that, in New Jersey. Their job was to suppress the black vote, and I think they did that. I think they were successful. So, this is the most diverse congressional district in the United States of America. We're black folks, we're white folks, we're Puerto Rican folks, we're Mexican folks, we're Dominican folks, we're Muslim folks. I just found out that we are Bangladeshi folks. There's a Bangladeshi community, 205th Street and Perry Avenue. I had never been there before in my life. And we're LGBT folks. We're also African folks. We're also Orthodox Jews. So we're everybody. I have support from each and every segment of that society, of that congressional district. So I'm asking you for your help. This election is not about me. If you don't think I speak well, fine. If you don't think I didn't speak to you on the corner, fine. But it's not about me. It's not about me. This is about us. This is about our children. So it's June 28th. This has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but it means something. I love this community. I live in the same apartment house that I grew up in. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to fight. So I've been battle tested, as they say. I've taken my lumps. Listen, and for Charlie Rangel and David Dinkins to endorse my candidacy, it just means the greatest thrill in the whole world. This is where I come from politically. This is where we all come from politically. This is where we were born. This is where we were spawned. So, and let me just tell you this, I've worked with these guys. They don't give their endorsement lightly. Let me tell you that right now. It's just, they don't just give it away. You have to earn it. You have to earn it. So you have to earn it. So I just want to say thank you, Reverend Sharpton, for allowing me to speak. This election is about all of us. I mean, you know, listen, I could get a job, but I'm devoted to this community. And we have a lot of battles to fight. So, let me just say this. There was an old, well, not an old, but there was a disc jockey. Many years ago, I think we all probably used to listen to. His name was Frankie Crocker. Frankie Crocker used to say that if Frankie Crocker's not on your radio's not on. Well, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. If the National Action Network is not involved in our elections, there is no election. I'm asking for the National Action Network, the community of Harlem, the community of WLIB to come out and vote. Listen, I'm asking you all to come and do the right thing. Come and make the right choice. Let's take this district in the right direction. And let's vote Keith Wright on June 28, 2016. Let's go. Let's get out and win. Let's show up. Let's show them what we're on, and let's let our voices be heard. Thank you very much.
Keith Wright. Let me say this in closing. I want you to know that you have witnessed African American history this morning. A lot of us don't understand that. On the Saturday before the election that will determine who the next congressman from Harlem will be, you saw the first and only black mayor and the outgoing congressman in person come and address you. I mean, that's a moment in history. One of the things that disturbs me is we take great moments lightly. Keith Wright is right. The whole country is going to watch Tuesday night. Yes, under the Obama administration, I have access in out the White House. All of them are going to watch, because the capital of Black America has always been Harlem. And who represents this district is automatically a national figure. Now let me tell you this. If you that are biblically inclined, and this is a civil rights movement church-based, the Bible always speaks of continuity and lineage. Everybody in the Bible, they connect to the lineage they come from. One of the reasons is because they believe in a divine line and kindred spirits. But the other reason is because you must understand the psyche of someone in leadership. What I mean by that, I'm going to take a few minutes and let you go. If you grow up in a mentality of inferiority or mediocrity, you will emulate that. If you grow up in the shadow of greatness, you will seek greatness. You will become what you are environed by. That's why the worst thing in the penal justice system is locking criminals up with criminals, because all they do is learn how to be criminals. Keith Wright is the son of Judge Bruce Wright. He worked for years with the top historic black political figures in the history of this city, which gives him a perspective different from those who weren't exposed to that. One of the greatest gifts of my life is when I told my mother when I was 11 I wanted to go to Harlem and see Adam Clayton Powell. And she never stopped me. And then I started working with Jesse Jackson and Bill Jones, and she would encourage me. The reason I never, ever was satisfied with doing normal stuff is because I grew up looking up to abnormal people. I tell a lot of, I learned how to do what they did. You let your kids grow up around folk that have not achieved nothing, they will never believe they can achieve something. Because achievement is not only about what you study, it's about what you believe. Can you execute what you study? So you can know everything in the world. If you don't believe you can do it, it don't matter that you know it. So they couldn't tell me what I couldn't do because I'd been around folk at a young age that did it. I wasn't around with Adam Clayton Powell when I was 11 and 12. I Jesse Jackson Youth Director when I was 13. So when I got 20, you couldn't tell me what I couldn't do because I grew up around it. Put to you this way, I'll let you go. When Moses led the children of Israel and he brought them out of bondage, he sent a crew. I want y'all to get this now for Tuesday, 28. 28 ain't far, and that's this coming Tuesday. He sent a crew and said, I want you to survey, Lloyd Williams, the promised land. I'm going to send y'all out there. I want y'all to go and see the land that God has promised us. They went out and surveyed the land. When they came back, they said, Moses, we can't take that land. Now mind you now, they had been in bondage. God sent 7 plagues that broke Pharaoh's grips. God defied nature to deliver them, brought them to the banks of the Red Sea, defied nature again and opened up the Red Sea, made dry land in the middle of the Red Sea. After all of that, they came back and said, we can't take the land. So why you say that? Said because we saw who's on the land. And to us they appeared as giants. And we as grasshoppers. Caleb disagreed. But here's my point. The reason they're getting away with gentrification and political gentrification is not because they're better and bigger. It's because we got grasshopper complexes. The problem with black folk is that they appear to us as giants. They're not really giants. But you've been broke down to where you're crawling on the ground. And when you're crawling on the ground, anything you look up to look like a giant. If you get up, they're not that tall. They come in your community. Take your house. Take the job. Take your politics. And you on the ground hopping around. Stand up. a giant in you if you get up off the ground and quit hopping around. You are people that made nothing turn into something. You're the land of Adam Clayton Powell and Marcus Messiah Garvey. You're not no grasshopper. When we were facing Jim Crow, we sent giants to Congress. Stand up! We are right where the children of Israel were. Got out of bondage and started getting normal. Normality didn't bring us out of bondage. That's why I like what John Lewis and them did this week. We didn't get here doing political correct stuff. We broke Jim Crow's back. We made them give us the right to vote. We took a black man with a funny name and beat a sitting senator and the first lady of the United States. We are not grasshoppers. And after we got out of bondage, now you getting scared. Black preachers that reinterpreted theology, raised preaching to another level like Gardner Taylor and Sam Proctor. But now they got you out of the bondage of some sacred and imagined appropriate theology. And now your kids is imitating Joel Osteen. Because you got a grasshopper complex. You got to have somebody pump you up that you can think big and think bright. All you got to think about is what grandma and mama did. I don't need nobody to tell me I'm a giant. I'm the son of people that beat the best you had. I'm not scared of you. We beat you before. We'll beat you again. Get up off the floor. Quit wallowing, black man. It's time to stand up. We can take the land. We can take the land. We can take the land. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Hey, sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Hey, we want justice. Got to have justice. We want justice. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Open the doors of the movement. There may be someone today that wants to not just visit us, but be a part of this organization. You may hear us on the radio. You may see some of what we do on television. Why don't you come and be a part of this organization? All you got to do is come down to me right now and let me sign you up to the National Action Network. Come on. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Come on. Yeah. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. sing. Everybody singing. Yeah. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. Yeah. All right. Glad to see so many out. Our Washington, Maryland delegation, Sister Nia, our Far Rockaway, they got them some man suit jackets. Look at Far Rockaway up in this house. Always glad to see them. It's one of our strongest chapters right there in Far Rockaway. All right. Let me say this. Don't forget, Thursday night, it was announced on the broadcast, Legal Night. Attorney Hardy has made that an institution all over the land. They're doing it in other cities now under NAN. He's done a great job. You that visit the website, you should check it every day. NationalActionNetwork.net, we change it every day. You'll see a picture of a young man that did 22 years, 23 years in jail, that his mother came to Legal Night, talked to Attorney Hardy, he helped get a lawyer, and he wrote out the commutation papers to President Obama. When I met with President Obama, he said, well, let NAN make some recommendations. And that young man was commuted by Barack Obama. And he was here this week to thank Attorney Hardy. Him and his mama. You've seen his mama in the last couple of weeks. But his pictures with Attorney Hardy here at the House of Justice this week. We get stuff done. A lot of folk talk a lot of smack, as the kids say. But we get stuff done. That's why we're on this gun stuff. We stopped and frisk. We dealt with a lot of racial profile, police matters. We believe in fighting and getting the job done. All right. All our young people and older people that want to go, we're going tomorrow on the Gay Pride Parade, stand up for those in Orlando and Charleston. Meeting at 11 a.m. sharp at 34th and Madison. I'm going to march tomorrow myself. 34th and Madison. Every year our young people are going. But I want young and old. Y'all get, I saw Mayor Dinkins with a crutch. Y'all get Hardy a crutch. We get the seniors out there with us. It ain't going to be too hot or too cold tomorrow. All right. And again, I don't say one thing on one side of town and something else. We got to protect everybody's civil rights.
That's right, man. That's right. Come on.
It may not be your way, but people have the right to their way, like you had the right to your way.
That's right. Come on.
But when we are dealing with gun violence and people being shot down for what and who they are, and they will not even ban assault weapons, it's time for us to get busy.
That's right.
After Newtown, after Sandy Hook, after San Bernardino, and Charleston, and now Orlando, and no legislation has changed, need a movement. And that's what we met about in Washington. That's what we're going to build. But don't forget, every day is happening in Chicago. Every day is happening in Harlem, in Bed-Stuy, Fort Greene. And we got to stop this. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it? All right. Let me raise our offering and we'll let you go. We also did our voting rights last night in Washington. They had the production, and Dominique stars in it. They say they had a wonderful show when truth. The chapter was there? All right. All right. Let's everybody give to the best of their ability. Glad to see Reverend Sean McMillan here in the back. Stand up, give him a hand, Reverend McMillan. Many of you remember, I think year before last, Reverend Jackson was here, introduced him. He spoke for us one Saturday morning, a few moments. Reverend Jackson called me this morning. They're starting their convention today. I told him I had to be around here to deal with the Pride Parade tomorrow and then the election on Tuesday. But we certainly support him, one of my mentors, Reverend Jackson. I ain't got but a few left. I told him this morning, I can't call James Brown, I can't call my mother, I can't call neither one of my pastors, Bishop Washington or Dr. Jones. He said, yeah, and I ain't feeling too good. I said, well, you better hold on. I don't have nobody to call. And he was calling Hardy. He don't answer the phone at 8 o'clock. I'm going to quit teasing Hardy about his age. Hardy about 7 months younger than me, so I'm really talking about myself. All right, I need to raise some money. Everybody give to the best of your ability. I need about 9 people that'll start me with $100 apiece. I need about 9. 100, come quickly. Minister Winston Gilchrist, $100. Bowles Rivers, a legendary activist of the Harlem Week, Harlem Month, Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, who's a member here now, $100. And Brother Lloyd Williams of the Uptown Chamber of Commerce, $100. Our Change Choir, $100. Guardians, $100. The Rockaway chapter, give them a hand in their man jackets. Don't they look good? $100. That's wonderful. Somebody asked me about our chapter leader out there always wears a cowboy hat. I said, I thought he was the Texas chapter, not the Far Rockaway chapter. I said, he go out to Far Rockaway and ride those waves. I need some more honey. I need some more honey. All right, give me 50, 50, 50. 50. Jeff Club, 50. Dr. Ponder, Alvin Ponder, 50. Minister, Dr. Reverend Mildred Salter from the Bronx, $50. Brother John, $50. 20s, 20s, 20s.